Finally got a designer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yo. Personal experience, I've been sitting with a designer for a few months now. Like, unofficially, we're not even on the same team, but I just seek him out. Sit with your designer. You will learn so much about UX. It's not
working?
I'm already doing so many other things now.
I don't care. Go do it. Do it anyway.
Database shit. Laravel stuff.
No, seriously, but like, if you ever do UI stuff, sit with it. Those guys have access to a world of knowledge I never even knew was out there.
Yeah, of course. That's why it's its own field.
Yeah, exactly. Wear it now. Yeah.
I like it.
They went over New Year's.
You guys there
They
a
were
bunch of
there New
redesigns
Year's
for
Eve.
the actual website that we'll probably be digging
Are they
into
on
sometime
top?
soon.
No.
Yay, Gatsby!
Hey, Gatsby. Yay, Maker Depot for giving us our spot, right?
Speaking of which, anyone here know like a area we could meet up? It's closer to South Passing, because I got on Discord.
Eli, right?
Been asking if there's anything closer.
I live
to
45 minutes west of here, so anything about closer to here, I have like, no idea.
Which
And
region
if you're
are you
west
thinking
of
about?
here, then it'd probably be even further for you to go to Patterson. I think Patterson's more east.
Well, I
There's a meetup in Patterson.
Huh?
I usually go do Uber after this,
No, there's
so
a
it doesn't
guy.
matter where we
There's
go.
a
I
guy
can
who
meet
lives in
wherever.
Patterson.
Yeah, he's been
Ah,
yeah.
He's come here like once, maybe twice. But he keeps saying like, is there any way that we could meet closer to where he lives, which is South Patterson? Because I think he doesn't have a car or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
The other time when he came here, he said he had to take the bus.
He's in South Patterson?
Yeah.
So you're not that close to him, right?
Not really. Patterson, Patterson's huge.
Yeah.
Can you take Uber?
It's
Alex?
expensive. You're paying almost like $7 to $8 in and out.
Maybe Alex can give him a sick discount.
Oh yeah, you did do. I forgot about that.
Oh, thanks, love.
Maybe you could connect virtually.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
possible. Discord has chat and probably video too.
Yeah. You put them up there so you can see us. No, you can't see us. There's no screen back.
Yeah, let's just always stream Eli to there. So he's just gonna be like looking at everybody.
That could be an interesting option though.
This is all on camera, right?
Yeah,
Good.
they're going.
Good.
Oh really? Are this conversations?
Don't worry, I'll edit this off before I put it on YouTube.
No, you won't.
So to make it sweet, just put this on and
This
go
camera's
and
watch,
you've been
watch
pumped.
this right now.
Oh, not me though, right?
Bring it
Let me
back.
see, you won't be out of the way.
Oh god.
I don't want to be on camera.
You won't, where you're standing right now, you're not on the
What if-
screen.
what if
I'm
I
probably
try-
barely on the screen right now. It's mainly on the,
Yeah, it's a chair.
Yeah, you're on the screen.
I am?
Yeah, you're on. Derek, you're on too.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Crazy. Thank you.
Come on.
Z, right? Is Z?
Yazid, yeah.
Yes, I finally got it.
Eileen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not there. Doors.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Gatsby.
Let's talk about George Gatsby.
Let's see. So I'm gonna do this in Code Sandbox. Code Sandbox we should be a little familiar with because Yazid used it in his Redux thing the other day. Code Sandbox is a lot of different stuff. Gatsby is one of them. That might help. So you can getting started with Gatsby. It has let's see. Normally, well, I don't know. Normally, whatever you do, it has a command line tool, right? And you need to install it. npm install Gatsby CLI globally. I'm sure it needs to be global. I don't know. That's what the docs say. So that's what you do it. When you start a new Gatsby project, after you get it installed, you start a new Gatsby project by running the Gatsby command. The hello world can be whatever you want to call it, all right? So this is not specific. This could be my project, whatever. And then you give it a URL to a starter file, which is...
Are you going to post all this?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I'll post all this. So the one we're going to use is here. It's from Gatsby.js GitHub. This is like a total stripped down, bare bones starter file. Some of them they have, it's like practically a whole site built for you from the get-go, some of their starter files. But this is just really stripped down. Called it Hello World because it's the Hello World starter. You can, again, so that after the new keyword, you can call that whatever you want. It doesn't need to be Hello World. Once you install it, you cd into there and npm run develop. There are some Gatsby commands, like if there is Gatsby new. You can do Gatsby develop, but I was doing I forget what it was. I was working on something with Gatsby, and the way around it, I kept getting this error over and over. And Googling for a little while, somebody said just do run develop instead of Gatsby develop, and it'll work. And I have no idea why, but it worked. So I just do npm run develop instead of Gatsby develop. I don't know, just a little idiosyncrasy. But I'm going to use Code Sandbox today. So we'll show you how that's going to work. If you want to follow along, you can. If not, you can just, I'm recording this, you can look at it another time. So Code Sandbox, let's see. Why is this so slow? Oh, there it is. There it is. So you can create a sandbox. To use this starter, all right. So first of all, you can just use this starter right here, but that's not the one we want to use. We can import one from GitHub. So that's what we're going to do to get the one that I was talking about. This is the same one that was in my slide, the starter Hello World starter, right? So you're just going to do that, and you open the sandbox, and this will take a minute as it's loading all this stuff. But these files over here on the left, right? This is just like the file structure you would get if you did this from the command line. A couple things to note. All the files you're going to mess with mainly in terms of creating your pages are going to be in this source directory. This Gatsby config is an important one. Gatsby supports a lot of plugins and stuff, and whenever you do a plugin, you have to put it in your Gatsby config file. One thing of note, whenever you change your config file, you have to restart the server, because that's something that runs as it starts up. It checks stuff in the config file. So Gatsby has when you're running in development mode, it has the hot module reloading, so you make a change and it shows up automatically. But if you change something in your config, you do have to restart it, because it can't. That's something that runs when it's starting up, not while it's going. So just something to look out for there. So here's a basic. Here we go. Basic Gatsby site. Don't worry about this page not found 404. That's because this is stripped down so far it doesn't even have a 404 page. So the way Gatsby works, I didn't even say what Gatsby is. Gatsby is basically a static site generator. When the people from Gatsby talk about it, they say it does so much more than just generate a static site. They are starting to refer to it as a progressive web app generator, right? Because it does a lot of things besides just giving you pages of HTML and CSS. It gives you code splitting and lazy loading images, all this stuff it does automatically for you, so it comes out really fast. But in general, the structure of a Gatsby site, all your pages are in this pages directory over here. Let's see, should I make this a little bit bigger? Maybe. I don't want to go too big, I'm going to run out of space. You create a page in the pages directory. So in Create React app or something like that, you have all your React components, and then to go from page to page, you need to have a React router of some kind. In Gatsby, you don't do that. If you put in a JavaScript file or a React file in the pages directory, that's the root. It's going to be your what you're doing on localhost. It's just localhost/about. If you make an about.js, it automatically does the routing for you right out of the box. So here, the index.js just goes right to the home directory right there. So let's see. There you get some word wrap there. So here's a basic React function component. All it does is return a div with hello world. Hello. So just going to change this. Cannot edit in read only. That's because I'm not signed in to Code Sandbox. So we'll do that real fast. Okay, so now I should be able to change it. Hello. save, and it should show up over there pretty quickly, momentarily, depending on how fast our internet is, I guess. Oh, so it's restarting again, probably because I signed in. Usually this is, you hit that save and it's pretty instantaneous. So I think it's because I signed in. Just let it finish thinking. Alright, so automatically it does your updates for you, right? So just to see how fast it should be, really, just give it a couple extra. Let's see how fast it goes. That's much better, right? Much faster. Okay, so let's see. What do I have here? So we did this, we created a new, we imported from GitHub. Let's go to the next slide. So to create a page, we just talked about this. Navigate to Pages directory, index.js is the home, root, just like a plain old HTML site. Gatsby does routing for you, folder, anything, files that are inside of the page directory create their own routing, right? Their own routes right there. So then all you do, on each one of those, you just create a new React component, and whatever you put in there is what's going to be on your new page. So let's do that, for example. I'm just going to copy this whole thing. In React, you don't, let's see. You're used to just HTML and CSS. You build a page with HTML and it's got everything on your page is all in this one big file, right? In React, it's built with components. Like, for instance, think of just almost every website you go to. It has some sort of header content, then there's some body, there's a footer. So in React, you break everything into components. Like the header will be one file. The body might be another file. The footer will be a different file. And then you import those different components into one main file. Okay? So in here, the page, the files we make in the page directory is going to be like a regular HTML page, kind of. But you can still import those components into it, okay? So in general, so very basically, this is like a regular HTML page, very simple. There's not much going on there. It's just one div, and that's all that's in there. We haven't imported any kind of extra components into it yet. We're gonna get to that, okay? So let's make another page. Let's make, like, for instance, an about page or something like that. So make a new page because you want a new root. I like to do this. I like to put the export instead. Oops. There we go, this is my word wrap. And then you do. Alright, all my errors went away, so that looks right. Alright, so now I have this. Let's just change this so we know it's coming from the right place instead of. Nice, hit save. And then so now if we go to here and we just add about, it should show up. This is about page content. So routing is very simple. It's just everything you put in every file you put in the pages, it becomes its own root. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna make a couple, another page or two here, just so we can make this sort of a nav bar. Make another page. I'm just gonna copy this from here. See that trick? If you you highlight one, you do Control D, it highlights the next occurrences of that word. This is a good little shortcut for you. Contact. If I go over here.
Costing boxes in the browser version of VS Code there.
Not exactly.
Yep, so there's its own page too.
Essentially.
Let's just do one more. Something like schedule. Let's try that again. That's good. That should be better. Let me see what I did that's not nice. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so that's creating pages in Gatsby. What's next? So we add a few pages. Linking in Gatsby. You can still use your normal HTML anchor tag like href goes to whatever page or route you put in or your URL. And in Gatsby, you're still going to use that for external links, but when you're linking within a Gatsby site, you're going to use this link component instead. It goes much faster, and I'll show you how much faster it is in a second. So to use the link component, we have to import it from Gatsby. So again, if you're not used to React, just kind of go with the flow here. And when you're using React components, if you want to add stuff from other, I guess, remember I was saying you could take components and put them into other things. You can import not just components, but you can import other like methods and functions too. So that's kind of what's going on here. Although I guess link is actually a component. But at any rate, we're going to import this link. From Gatsby. So now we can use this link. So let's make, on that note, let's make a link. Well, first I'm going to show you a side by side of the regular anchor tag and the link. So I'm just make a triangle href. And then we'll do the link instead. And then we use the link, you do, instead of href, you do 2. And this is just like React Router, I think. It's the same syntax, I'm pretty sure. Okay. So let's see. Oh, we're sending this on the schedule page. Okay. Well, that's good. Let's put a little. What did I do?
Put the slash.
It's on the outside. I just wanted to show. I'm going to show you a comparison of how fast. So if the about page. Let me put another one here because that's gonna. Okay, so like I said, you can still use the anchor tag, and when you do, it's going to go, it goes, it gets the other page, and it finally shows up, right? But, let's go back here. It was on the schedule page, right? This is the one with the link component. It's like instantaneous. You don't even see that flash at all. It doesn't disappear. It just automatically, it goes right there. So. Big speed advantage, big usability advantage, right? See how fast, and again here it goes away, it thinks about it, loads it, finally, okay? So yeah, so that's a good reason to be using link instead of a regular old anchor tag. Again, for external sites, you still need to use the anchor tag, all right? It only works, the link only works for internal links. So let's see, what did I have in store here next? We're going to add links to all the pages we made, okay? Because we're going to use that in a minute when I do we're going to make like a header component like I was talking about. So we'll have like a sort of mini navigation and we'll import that. So real quickly, I'm going to do this. So let's see, this should really probably be, instead of these breaks, I should probably make a list or something. It would be more like the right way to do it. So let's see how fast I can make this go. Right, move this guy to here. Get rid of this guy. this guy down. It's Shift Option down. There's a good shortcut. Shift Option down arrow. Copies down whatever you had highlighted. That's a good time saver. So we had about, we had contact. Schedule. And we should probably do a home too, right? The home just goes to slash. Okay. So now, got our home page, got our about page, got our contact, we got our schedule. It's all working. Okay. So now let's see what do I have next in the agenda here. So we add links to the pages we made. I said to add it. I went through this last night and I made it, to make sure I don't have too many big errors or pauses in my little presentation here. So I said to add an external link. I don't remember whether there's some reason we're going to need that later, so let's just throw that in there real fast anyway. Just add a div. Let's throw an anchor tag. It's my Twitter. Like it's right. Yeah, else house. Yes. Okay. So, what was next here? Next page. So, reusable components I was talking about, right? So far, the components we're making, they're like a whole page. I was saying you can take like just a header or just navigation, and you cut that out of your HTML page, and you make it its own thing. And this way, you can reuse it in different parts of your site. So if you have an about page and a contact page and a schedule page, they all want to have navigation on it. So instead of something changes in your navigation, you don't need to go to every page and change it. You have this component, you change it in the component, and all the other pages automatically update. Okay, that's not just a Gatsby thing, that's a React thing in general, the component structure. So far we've been using components as a structure of a whole page, but we're going to start breaking them down here. Okay. When you're using a component that's going to be one of these blocks instead of a page, they go in a different spot. They go in, we're going to make their own folder called components, and then we'll be able to import them into our pages. Okay. So let's do that. So I want to take this section here, this sort of navigation. I'm going to make that a component. So that's my list here, right? So I'm going to cut this list out. I need to make a new directory in the same level as pages. So it's in the source. I'm going to make a new folder, components. And then inside of components, I'm going to make a new one, and let's call it, say, new file, header.js. Okay. And put that in there. It's giving me all kinds of errors because I don't have any of the React-y stuff in there. Let me just copy all of this actually. Get rid of this stuff. Throw all of this inside of it. Okay, I probably don't need that div there. I'll just do that. That should work. This is not going to be schedule anymore. This is going to be header. This is going to be the header. That's what we're calling it. Okay. So great, I have this header component. Now what, right? Nothing happened, right? Because we need to, it doesn't just automatically go somewhere. You have to go to the pages that you want it and import it and put it in the page. So, for instance, let's go to the home page, right? And when you want to import one of your components, you do import, and then the file name or the component name, right? And you tell it where it's coming from. And we are currently in the pages directory. We want something from the components directory, so I have to go up one directory, out of the pages, and then into the components directory, and then grab the header component. So now we did that, we have access. That's still not enough to get it on the page, it's just we have access to it now. So now in the page, we can say, to import a component, you just do, it looks a lot like a regular HTML tag, except that it's the components are, it's kind of like a custom HTML tag where you get to define what's in it. Instead of like a H1 is defined by the browser and the language and stuff. In components, you get to define like what's in it. Okay, so you can name it whatever you want. So this is our header, and I saved, and it should. Showing up. Why is it not showing up? Because I'm not looking at the right page. That's why. Because I'm not looking at the home page. That would be helpful. So there we go. So this is the code for this page. Notice like all of this stuff isn't on here. It's all contained in this header component. Yeah. So that's really handy. You can reuse this chunk, and again, we'll put this on every page. And the great thing about that is you change it one place, and it changes on all of your pages automatically. Okay. So I'm going to do that. Let's do that. I'm going to add this header to all of my pages. We'll see how fast we can make that happen. Okay. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to go to my schedule page. Ooh, what happened? Okay, I want to keep that. I want to get rid of this. We'll put it here. Okay. We'll do. But I need to import it. See, is it on the schedule page now? Okay. So there's there. Schedule index. We did that. Contact. We want to put it on the contact page too.
You could come in.
I don't know if I want to.
So then we can use it in here. It's on the contact page. I have an extra caret in there, or greater than sign, or whatever you want to call it. Alright, one more page to go. Let's put it on the about page too. Here. Cool. So I'll just show you real fast the how great it is to be able to just change something in here, like about Alex, right? So now it should. And all these different pages now, that change, it's already there, right? It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So you use components all over. React that's the whole thing with React. And a lot of these frameworks, like Vue and Angular, they're all component-based. So it's the same kind of thing. They all have their different syntaxes and idiosyncrasies, but they're all components, right? So let's see, what do we have next? So we need some links. Oops. We did some components. We put these into, we made our header with functional component returning some content. That was our navigation that we made. Create links using link. Did I? Let's see something here. Okay, so I was wondering to myself, why is that working? I don't have the link in. The link is in the header file. I actually don't need the link in these pages anymore right now. That's why it's sort of grayed out. See, there's no link anywhere in here, so it doesn't need it. It'll probably give me a warning in the console, like you have this link component that's not being used, but it'll still run. At any rate, let's see, what was my next thing on the to-do list here? So we created a header, we imported it into the other pages. Let's quickly make a footer component too. So let's make this thing into a footer. My Twitter handle. Cut out of there, okay. So the same thing. Remember how to do this? You do a component, a new component. Oop, that's not what I meant to click. A new component. I'm going to call it footer. Put it here. Computer. I'm just going to copy it from here. It's much easier. Okay, so there's my footer, and we wanted to import it into some other pages. For instance, header, okay, footer. Oh boy. But that's not going to work yet because I didn't import it yet, right? And again, we're in the pages directory, so we have to go up one directory, then into the components, then grab the footer. And it should work. And there it is. Okay, so in the interest of time, I would normally, when I was doing this at home and practicing, I was putting this on every page, putting the header and the footer on every page. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. What you could do, when you have, you're going to have a header and a footer and this component and that component, it's going to be on every single page. Rather than going to every single page, you can do what they call a layout component, where all that stuff will be, those will still be individual components, but they'll be inside another component. I'll show you what I mean. It's easier if I explain it. So we're going to create, yeah, exactly. It's like a template, exactly. So we're going to create a layout component just in the same file folder as the other components, and we'll put the header and footer in a layout, and then we'll show you what we need to do to make that get going properly. So again, we're going to make a new component. We're going to call it layout. I keep hitting the wrong button there. I'm hitting edit, I guess. We do want the header in here, and what else do we want in our layout? We want the footer in here, and we need to grab the footer also. Alright, so then we have a layout component here, and so let's see, I'm going to make let's put it inside the index page here. And instead of the header and the footer, I'm not going to need these anymore after I get the layout, because the header and footer are going to be inside the layout already, so I'm going to get rid of these. And instead I'm going to import layout from components, layout, and so then these need to be inside of, instead of inside the div, they're going to be inside of this layout component. this one's not going to be a self-closing tag because we want to put stuff inside layout. The other ones we have, you see the header and footer, they have that self-closing thing. It's only one element with the slash at the end. Here we're going to put stuff inside there, so I got extra closing div. So let's see. So now save that. What doesn't it like about that? Components. Oh, I do need header and footer. Wait, what? Components, layout. Oh, no, never mind. Let's do that. We don't need them. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so if you remember what my header and footer looked like, it had, what the layout looked like, right? Where's the layout? All it has in it is the header and the footer. So in here in index, I just told it to do the layout, which contains the header and the footer. So to put stuff inside of, when you have, all right, when I hit save, I didn't have anything inside my two. I said you need an open and closing layout tag, but there's nothing inside of it. When I hit save, it auto-formatted. It said there's nothing in here. I'm going to make it a self-closing tag. We want to put stuff inside of it, though, so we need to fix that. We do want it this way. Okay, so to put stuff in here, we can do, I don't know, let's make a, oh my pinky doesn't work. Okay. So I'd save Alex. Let's at least get Alex. But that's still not working, right? So the reason is when you compose these components inside the other components, you need to tell it what's going to go in here, right? So you have to put. So this is where we're actually, so far this stuff all largely looks like HTML, right, so far. So in React, you can inject HTML directly in the middle of all your HTML. And you do that by using these curly brackets. So wherever you see, if you're looking at React and you see curly brackets, when you see these curly brackets, you know, inside your HTML, you know you're actually dealing with JavaScript, right? So this technically isn't HTML. It's what they call JSX, which is JavaScript extended or something like that. So it sort of mixes the HTML and JavaScript all together. So we do props.children. What? Get back here. We have to pass the props. If you're not familiar with React, this part is going to be a little wacky. You can pass information into one of your functions here from other places. So props comes from, it's like a parent component. So we're telling it, here we're going to get these props or properties from the parent, and inside here we're going to display the children of that. So now it should show up what I put in there on the homepage. Alex's homepage. So this is all part of the layout, right? So when I go to a page that I used the layout on, whatever goes inside of here is that props.children. Does that kind of make sense a little bit? You watch the video again tomorrow and it'll come to you. So that, let's see. So let's clean this up a bit. So now we can use this layout on all these pages, right? So let's do that. Instead of all this, we're going to have just and here we're going to have to put something, right? What's going on? So it's working on the contact page. Let's get it onto the about page too. lastly, within the schedule page, we need to go to. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Looks like it's pretty much working. Okay. So let's see. What's next? We're going to skip the styling. There's a lot of different ways to style in React. You can use your just regular CSS file. You can use CSS modules. On the Gatsby docs, they use CSS modules generally. There's instructions how to use style components. The point is, in React in general, there's a bunch of different ways to do styling. For the amount of time we have left, we're not going to really style this. So we're just going to skip this a little bit. Alright, so one of the cool things, really cool things about Gatsby is how it deals with data. Okay, so along with the component sort of concept, you can have data that is set in one place and changes all out your site. A lot of like similar to the way the components work. So it uses this GraphQL, graph query language to do this. If you've ever done, I mentioned down here, like a REST API, where you go to a server and it gives you tell it to give you an object that's full of stuff. You might get like a big object full of all kinds of stuff. A lot of it you may not even need. With GraphQL, it allows you to go and just get like, you only need that one line out of this 10 lines of stuff. It'll only return you that one line, which is great for like slow connections and saving bandwidth and stuff like that. So let's see. One of the ways easy way to get started with this is creates a metadata for our site. So things like the title of the page, description of the page, author, all this kind of stuff.
And the size of the screen really is weird.
So this goes in config file. So in the config file, right now it's not. We don't have anything in here. So it exports this. All your configuration stuff goes in here. Like I say, so it runs this when you start up the development server. It looks in here and looks for information. So when we add stuff to this, we are going to need to restart. Not a big deal. So we're going to make let's see. Oh yeah, I made it to look it up on the docs because I don't remember exactly. I know I'm not going to remember exactly the syntax of it. I should have just put it in the slide. But Gatsby docs for. Okay, so this is where we're going to put. And this name does matter, the site metadata. It does have to be. Where'd it go?
Another tab.
Oh, it's in another tab. Very good, cool. Alright, so let's give you the title of my page. Alex's awesome Gatsby site. And it's going to be the description of my awesome site. Leave that URL for now. We'll put my Twitter. Make this Twitter. So we have this object with data that we want to be able to use in different places on the site. Again, so like I said, this is in the config file, and for this to show up, I am going to need to restart your server. If you're doing it from the command line, you have to shut down the server and restart the server. Do that in here. It's over here, server control, restart sandbox. This took me a few minutes last night when I was going through this, doing in code sandbox. How do you restart it in code sandbox? I was refreshing the page, wasn't working. Finally found it over here in the server thing, so that should do it. So now, built into Gatsby, right? When you're running your development server, this won't work on a live site once you deploy it to the web. When you're using your development server, you go to this URL, you do 3 underscores, GraphQL, and it gives you this page. Let's open this. This little thing makes it open in the window. Let's do that because you're not going to see what's going on. So this is a tool that lets you see what your data looks like. It's graphical, I guess you say it. I've heard people say GraphQL, whatever. That's not important. So this is, if you've used like a REST API, I've used like Postman or something like that to see data. It's sort of similar to that. It lets you do queries and stuff and see what your data looks like. So our site metadata, these are all things that in Gatsby that we have access to. There's a bunch of stuff that honestly I don't know what most of this stuff is, but what we're looking for should be here. It's site metadata.
Could you zoom in once or twice?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Site metadata, and so you see these are the fields that I had back there: description, title, and Twitter, right? So this is what a GraphQL query looks like, right? It looks a lot like an object. It's technically not a JavaScript object because it's not JavaScript. It's graph query language. It's made to look a lot like a JavaScript object, because people who are programming this stuff are very comfortable with JavaScript usually. So it's kind of the way they did it. So you do your query here. We said it's in our site metadata. I only want to get the description this time. Run it, gives me the description, right? If I want to get all the stuff, put them all in there, run the query, it gives them all to me. So you can pick and choose which ones you want or don't want. So you can really save bandwidth, just make it simpler for you to see what happens when you do your query, right? So if this was a much bigger object with a lot of data in it, but you only needed one piece of it, you don't need to download all that stuff if you only need the one piece. You can write a query so it's only taking that one line, the description, and it's only going to return you the description. Right? So it can save you a lot of bandwidth and a lot of time. So how do we get this into our site? So it's being served to us. We're on this URL. We're on this triple underscore GraphQL. So it's getting it. So how do we get this into our site? So we take this query. We basically copy this query directly and we put it over here in our site. Let's say okay. So let's go to let's start in the index page. To access this stuff, we need to import a couple other things. GraphQL and a function called use static query, and these come from Gatsby.
That's a hook.
It is, I guess. I was doing this the other night, and I was putting my use static query thing in the wrong place, and it kept saying you can only use a hook in the blah blah blah. I'm like, what do I do?
Inside the body of a function component.
Yeah, and so it finally, sorry. So now we have access to these, and let's see. I tried to put the problem I was having tonight. I tried to put it down in here, and this is with an arrow function. You don't have to write the return keyword, right? But in order to put this inside the function here, I do need to use the return. So I need to wrap this whole thing in my curly braces. After all,
with arrow functions, you only need to, or rather, you can only omit the return if all you're doing is return. Does that make sense? Like you're not doing anything else.
Right. And I do need to do something else here. I'm going to recall this query here. So
exactly. You're going to use the hook.
Yep. Exactly.
Right. And by adding braces like that, your function now has a body, so now it's eligible to host hooks.
Right, and so I'm going to put this in here. All right, so I'm going to run this query that we're looking at here, and we're going to save that data into a variable, and then we'll be able to use that variable in our page. So I'm just going to say const data equals, and to run this query, we use this useStaticQuery hook, right? It's a hook.
Yeah.
What makes it a hook?
Sorry?
What makes it a hook? What distinguishes it? How do you know?
Well, the name hook, like they had this React team had over 50 names, like for what to call this thing. They called it hooks. It's kind of like a pun. You can hook into React's state and lifecycle abilities without having to use classes or lifecycle methods.
So the way we use this, we use useStaticQuery, and then inside of here we call it GraphQL, and we use this syntax with these backticks. These are not single quotes; those are backticks. Okay. And we put the query in there. I don't think we need this name in here. Okay, so now compiled. We should have access to the description here. So let's see if I just do something like, let's just log it. Save it. There it is. Okay. Console logging data, which is an object, which only has this site metadata, and the description, greatest site ever. So it looks, whatever the object that it returns, remember, it looks just like the query, right? So here's the query, and the thing that it returns is in sort of the same shape as the query. So now, since I have that access to this data variable, in here, actually, let's not, Alex's home page, what was the site of, so in here, yeah, let's do it right here. We can say, we can use it here. We can do data.site. What do we call it? Description.
Actually, get going, guys. It was really good seeing all of you.
Take it easy.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Okay.
Have a good night.
All right, so there it is. Okay, so it shows up there. So now we can. There you go. So if I wanted to add the title, we change add that to the query, and then I would be able to use the same thing over here. Instead of description, we could say title. And that should show up too. There it is. So, let's see here. Still got time. So what do I want to talk about? So this was that. We were doing site metadata and GraphQL. So you get the idea. Gatsby uses this GraphQL format for all kinds of data fetching. You can do data from external sources, like any APIs that you use in other places. There's the way it does it. Gatsby has, I mentioned they have plugins, right? So you put you go to the Gatsby website. There's plugins for everything. Like for instance, I made our group's freeCodeCamp page, and I'm getting data from Meetup directly from Meetup, so I don't have to code it every time. It automatically is getting our dates. There's a Meetup plugin. Somebody already made a plugin for Meetup and just pulls the data automatically. Next. So I think what we should do. Okay, so this is what we were just doing, importing the data into our page. let's. You can get a lot more complex with data, right? There's you can pull it from different places, and you can have a whole APIs and all this kind of stuff. But we don't have enough time for all of that tonight. So let's talk about getting this Gatsby site live on the web. Could not be easier. If you use Netlify, this is an awesome service. It's really simple. I'm going to show you. But if you're doing it from your command line tool, you have a Git repo, and you go to Netlify and you press the button that you create an account, and there's like right on the home page there's like import your site from GitHub. You click it and the site is up there within like a minute. It's awesome. We're going to do it. That's not what I meant to do. We're going to do it from the Code Sandbox, which is, again, remember when we started this whole thing, we got it from a GitHub link. And this, I sign in with GitHub, so it's sort of linked all together here. So how do we deploy on here? Deployment. Deploy on Netlify. Deploy your sandbox on Netlify? Sure, deploy. It'll think about it for a minute. It's thinking, it's building the site. So we were saying before, when we were trying to run the graphical, this only works when you're in your development server. Mm-hmm. When you want to put a site live, you have to what they call build the site. It does all this stuff that Gatsby does behind the scenes, and it boils it down to just like HTML and CSS, and that's what you deploy. So when you're doing the build process, that's what it's doing. So it's building. It sometimes takes a few minutes. So I'll just give it a second here.
So Alex, quick question.
Yeah.
If you want to build a like you have a project, do you have to like always install the package in that particular project, or like you install it once and for all? So I saw you doing the global installation.
Right. So if you do it with the global, then every time you want to do a new Gatsby site, you just go to new directory, type Gatsby new, and do your project. So I think that's the point of doing the global, right? So then every time you want to run a new Gatsby site, it's already there. You just
so
run it.
let's say on the Mac, do you have a specific folder that you have to install do the global installation? Sorry.
I don't think so. I think once you do the npm install Gatsby CLI -G, no matter what directory you're in from there, you just type Gatsby new, and it'll make a directory with
I was trying that when let's see.
So let me just go back here a little bit. This Gatsby new, this hello world is a directory that it creates.
Okay.
So if I'm in my Alex's home directory and I do Gatsby new hello world, it's going to create a directory called hello world with the new Gatsby site inside of it.
This one I'm trying this.
While you're doing that, looks like this finished building, so we're going to visit the site. And Netlify gives you some weird URL because there's probably a million other people today making a site on Netlify, so it just creates this wacky URL. But this is live on the internet now. This is the greatest site ever, Alex's greatest Gatsby site, right? But it's live. It was that simple. It's a couple clicks, and there it is. And you can see again with our routing, it just all goes so fast. It's like faster than like just a straight HTML page. So Josh, who comes to these meetups sometimes, you were going for a while. I don't even remember Josh. Anyway, we were talking about Gatsby, and he's like, "Well, what's the point? Why don't you just make an HTML page?" But I think this linking here is even just stuff like this is even faster than that. And plus, it gives you, and again, Gatsby gives you all kinds of stuff that we didn't get into, like with where you're doing images. It gives you images that aren't on your page yet, it'll load them. It's what they call lazy loading. It only loads certain things that you need. When you're doing a page like this where it has links, it actually preloads. It looks at this list of links and says, well, I'm going to load the info from this other page already, even though you didn't ask me for it yet. But it's actually smart about it. It doesn't actually, it checks first. If you're on like a low bandwidth connection or a slow connection, it's not going to automatically download all this stuff without your permission. because they don't want to waste people's data and stuff like that. It actually does some sort of check first to check what kind of connection you're on to decide whether it should download stuff for you. It does all kinds of wild stuff. So Derek, how's that working out for you? Did it?
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. I think that's all we're going to try to do tonight. Anybody got any questions? No, pretty good. I'll put all these slides up there so you can try this on your own if you want, and we'll put this video up, and that'll be that for tonight. All right, thanks. Cool.
You said you were working on the actual group's website.
Yeah, you want to take a look at that?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the code for that. Can certainly do that. How long did it take me to learn this? That's a good question. I've been messing around with it for a while. I know that's really vague. But I was learning React first, right? So that's like the you got to kind of know React a little bit to really. Let's find. Let's just get out of here. Find the React page. This is my super slow Mac that's 10 years old. It still works, so everything works, but slowly. I'm already. So, Fermi, what do you want to know? What do you want to see?
I was just wondering, like, how's it looking so far?
I don't think I've done anything to it since last week when we looked at it. But if you want to see, like, what the code that we've got going on here is, I can show you the GraphQL and the meetup API and stuff like that. That might be something interesting to look at. How that's working. So this is. Well, let's see. Let's do this. Open the page so you can see what it is we're talking about. See, with the Mac that's this old, you have to balance do I want to leave a million things open so they don't have to start up every time, or do I want everything to run very slowly? Does everything I need to do, just slowly. So, let's see.
You have a live already?
I couldn't get in touch with Richard for the domains that he bought, but I bought freeCodeCampNJ.com and put it on there. And this is it's on Netlify, and I just have the freeCodeCampNJ DNS pointing to the Netlify site. Netlify is a hosting company, yeah.
And it's free, right?
Yeah, so they like most of these sites that offer all this free stuff, they want you, when you get a website that needs 100% uptime and like real clients and stuff, that then you need to pay for a higher level, like, yeah. But for students, this works just fine. For our needs, I think I don't know, but a lot of these sites like this, they also on the free level, like the server will be sort of asleep if no one looks at it for a while. That might be what's going on. I'm not sure if that's what they do here, but it kind of seems like it.
It opened up right away on my end.
Oh, on yours? Okay, so let's see.
It looks good. Wow.
Okay.
Very nice.
So this
Is
just.
that Derek's design? Didn't you do that design, Derek?
No, I
No,
got
had a
this.
similar template, not this
You
one.
did have a, yeah.
I got this. This was basically a template I got, a free template I got off of somewhere. And I just put a bunch of stuff in it. It was actually for beer or something. This is breweries instead of meetups or something like that. But anyway, so the way I have this working, it's getting this list, these like sort of cards, if you want to, see what I mean. It's getting the data for each one of these. This is exactly, so if you go to our meetup page, this is exactly the same information that's on the meetup page.
Gosh, it was so good.
And in the code, I have it set to grab the data from the meetup page using the GraphQL, put it into the web page, and I also have it set so. Remember I was saying when you have to build the site, right? I have it set to rebuild the site every day at 2 o'clock. So when this one, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Gatsby will be in the past, and the next one will be the first one,
Okay.
automatically update itself.
Wow.
By the way, regarding this site, where is this? I think I posted something about this on Discord. I really want everybody to contribute to this if you would like to. I'm going to show you how you can contribute to this if you want to. I don't know why my internet is slow. It came up fast for you guys, you said, right?
Can you run that?
Yeah, it must be the old one. Oh, why not? GitHub.com, freeCodeCamp. Try again. What's going on? Well, we can look at the code anyway over here in the code sandbox. We have the.
Do you have any tests set up for it?
I don't have any kind of test. No, I don't.
Do you know how
That's why
to-
I'm waiting for you to do your test during development talk.
Do you know how compatible Gatsby is with testing frameworks and stuff?
I'm not sure. I'm a big podcast listener, so I listen to all these podcasts. I'm sure they talk about testing in these tests.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's.
There's probably the Gatsby docs too.
I'm sure it is.
Since
I'm
TDD
sure.
is huge, especially when it comes to React.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go to Gatsby.org. See what it has to say about testing.
Is there a password to get in if you're on here, or are you supposed to it just pops up?
Wi-Fi
If
here?
you're on Maker Depot Guest,
Oh, okay, thanks.
it should not require a password.
Ting.
Let's just look at docs.
Advanced.
Hmm?
Maybe advanced.
Don't do that. If you do that, I'll go right to sleep.
Look here, docs/testing. Unit testing, testing components with GraphQL, end-to-end testing. So there's a whole
Yeah.
lot of information about testing.
All right.
Gatsby.
That's how I'll contribute.
All right, so here is
You're a tester?
Huh?
You're a tester?
the code
No,
for our
just
the
web
the
developer.
freeCodeCamp, our
It's
website, so to
kinda
speak.
big right now.
If you guys have a chance and you're looking at this site, right, and there's something you see that like, I mean, there's a lot that's terrible about this right now. I mean, things that don't line up and all, whatever. Anything that you see that you don't like about this, please go on here in the freeCodeCamp North Jersey and in here, and you do issues, right? Add an issue, and this is just like I'm the only one who's added any issues. I think this is things that I want to fix, things that I want to add,
I'll give
something you want to
visual
see.
feedback.
Go through and create a new issue, and then one of these days our meetup can be working on the site altogether or something. We can go through some issues and work on it or something. Or if you want to practice your Git stuff, make a change, make a pull request, or go back and watch Yazid's record a how to do GitHub lecture before you do it, maybe. But yeah, so definitely want help with this.
Oh, is it mobile responsive? Or responsive in general?
Kinda, yeah.
If you use that template, then probably it's going to be responsive.
Yeah, I think it does, but I was looking on my phone and it sometimes kind of works. So it went down to 2, right?
So, okay, let's
it went
go
down
on.
to 1, but I was looking at my phone and it's something's. This doesn't. This is weird. It doesn't line up right. Like this is off the edge of my phone, maybe, or something like that. So there's things that need help with the responsiveness. But yeah, and this is not. This is, I think, like I said, I got a template that I use. I think it's all CSS Grid. It's not like Bootstrap or anything like that. But again, so the code is here. We have this freeCodeCamp North Jersey.
Yeah.
And it's this. This is unfortunate naming. Like if you have just an HTML site, you can put it at this. You make a repo with this format, and it'll automatically put that site to that URL. But since this is a Gatsby site that needs to be built, it doesn't quite work. But I didn't realize that till after I called the repo this, and I don't know if changing the name of the repo is going to mess everything up. But so I just left it as this as the name for now. Anyway.
Since the whole thing is on JS, there's no issue with like TypeScript, right?
There's no
Like compatibility problems.
for a Gatsby site with TypeScript. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So you put all the pages, templates, components, and WebJS files as TypeScript files.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't really messed with TypeScript too much. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Really.
Documentation.
Yeah, I'm sure. It seems like these guys are really incredibly active and building this thing up, and so I'm sure if you want to do it with TypeScript, there's a way to do it with TypeScript.
Because right now the code base isn't that big, right?
Right. Might be a good time to start
You
doing
just
these
have, like,
things
a
before they
couple
get out of
pages.
using TypeScript. Hey, look at that.
Yep. Let's go.
Testing. Oh, this is under the test thing. Anyway, so obviously there is some information in here about using TypeScript with it. So.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, you all get a Gatsby sticker. They sent me. I told them we were doing this, and they sent me stickers. So I'm going to turn these cameras off, and you can all have your Gatsby sticker. Hooray!
I'm going to put it at the back of my laptop.